this is a once in a century opportunity to actually have a voice quickly. The LinkedIn game is incredibly different to any social media platform, and that's why I love it. It is not about what is the most entertaining. It is about the most...
I guess maybe you could argue that you came in with a certain amount of knowledge and experience that let you hit that path, but I just don't think a lot of people do.
I think it's important for you to know what you're building your personal brand about and what the goal is, because they think that building a personal brand is going to create more generational wealth for their business. But in reality,
with over 20 million plus impressions, 300,000 followers across socials, and multiple six figures made, Lara Acosta can show you how you can build one too. She has helped 700 plus people build their personal brand online and has also been featured on Forbes.
And so I'm a big fan of Clio. It is my god for content.
You don't use ChatGPT at all, or
there's so much distraction with all this new tool, and I think that's why people fail. Trying to do both volume and throwing stuff at a wall and see what sticks, your quality is going to suffer. A lot of big entrepreneurs hate. So why am I even speaking about it?
Before we get into the episode, we have a special announcement. Do you want to build your personal brand on LinkedIn that actually gets you noticed? We're giving away a free one-to-one session with Lara, creator of Literally Academy, where she shows you how to start, grow, and position yourself as an authority. So how do you enter? Just subscribe to this podcast and reshare the LinkedIn post in the description below. Winners will be announced on April 11th. Now let's get into the episode. It's jam-packed with value. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back, Lara.
Welcome back. Nice to see you guys again a year later.
I know, right? How interesting. And so much has changed in a year. So I mean, that's where we should start. Tell us about what 2024 was like for you, all the new ventures and, ups and downs. What was life like?
Life is good. 2024 was definitely a big year. I was analyzing this in retrospect. It's probably one of the best years of my life. Very challenging, but I think I broke a lot of inner limiting beliefs that I had growing up of things I can't and can't do, or things people my age can or cannot do, or even what I thought I could or couldn't do. And it was great. It was the year of the dragon, I think. The year of the dragon. So it definitely was very powerful, very fiery. So I learned a lot.
Can I ask a little bit when you mention those limiting beliefs? Because I think it's easy for people to look at individuals such as yourself who's, having wild success and be like, limiting beliefs, what are you talking about? People like that don't. Would you be able to go a little deeper in what those are?
Of course. Well, firstly, last year, it was my first year not being in education. So just finished my master's degree. And there is this constraint of you can only make so much money after university, or you can't not do the certain things. So I wasn't an expert at anything at that point. Still, I had been running the business for 2 years, but I still didn't feel like this expert. And then society, school, and everything tells you that you need an exam, you need a certain qualification to be this person. And I proved to myself, and I guess everyone else, that also has this expectation that you do not need to pass an exam, and you do not need a certificate to be the person you're trying to become. As long as you're doing your best to become that person and act as such and learn as much as possible, and then apply and implement and then teach others. So in that process, I am becoming this expert that I'm trying to become, or at least aspire to become, and becoming the best version of my own self.
I think what you just said is also key, because a lot of times when people take that pathway, that is the typical degree and then getting into the job, and that you then get beholden to those roles because you're playing into your own psychology about, well, this is just what people do. Now I got to do this. Now I got to wait for this to happen. But the path you're going, you're able to trailblaze and in essence, create your own destiny, which I love.
Yeah, it's been great. The internet has limitless opportunities, and I think people need to be aware that it is no longer about society or the expectation. For the first time in a generation, the ball is in our court. The playing field has been even, and we need to take advantage of that. The internet is not going to be free forever, or at least not in the way that it is now. There's gonna be ways to capitalize on it, and there's gonna be more things to pay for. Right now, everything's technically free. You can build a brand from scratch with $0 to start. You can build a business from scratch with $0 to start. That's exactly what I did. And I think that benefit, it's the gold rush right now.
If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, be sure to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell. It lets YouTube know you want to support the This Is the Way podcast, and it helps spread the word, and we greatly appreciate it. And now, back to the episode. Lara, I mean, we've had obviously several on-camera conversations. We've had many off-camera conversations, you know, whether it was over sushi or whatever. So knowing kind of your background, even back in university, you were a little bit of a hustler. Now, maybe it didn't work out as you planned, but you were definitely trying, and you saw the opportunity even back then. It's just that it took you a little while to land on LinkedIn, knowing this is where I can flourish. And now everything that you're saying now about mindset and how people look at things, would you say that you had that same mindset back then? It's just you didn't have the success and credibility to validate the mindset, but now you finally do. And you're like, aha, I was always right. I just needed time to prove myself.
I think it goes back to the same thing that I said in your podcast last year. And I just got a flashback, and maybe we can put it in. I've got a massive chip on my shoulder, and that chip on my shoulder ended up being whatever I wanted it to turn out to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can alchemize any feeling into something positive, but I need to go through that negative first. It can be toxic, yes, and I also think I said that exactly that. Like, it's the same mindset. It's just like to a different scale. And so, yes, I've always been a hustler, but it wasn't because I wanted to build a business. I think everything just happened by accident, out of me trying to gain as much respect for myself and proving to myself that I could do whatever I wanted at any point, and I would not disappoint myself or my family. So that hustle came from trying a million things out. Like, I tried dropshipping, SMMA, like social media marketing agency, ads, all of it failed. And that was me hustling, but not for the money, but more for the adventure of me showing myself that I could do it, learning new skills, and then optimizing from them. Because then I started having fun in the pursuit of knowledge rather than the pursuit of financial freedom or freedom overall. I didn't want to be a remote entrepreneur. I didn't want to be a one of those people that travels all the time. Like, I didn't want that. I just wanted to be the most intelligent person in the room that could handle a conversation with any single person at any given point with as much confidence that I could. And that confidence is only born when you understand things to a deeper level that's beyond surface. And from that, I kind of like just went on and learned everything I could at the fastest rate I could.
So would you say, did it switch to more of a game, or would you just say it is just really focused on, you just got addicted to learning?
I love learning. Like, that's why I
Yeah.
was in education for so long. Like, I did a master's because education has always been such an amazing thing for me. Education is knowledge, like, and knowledge is power. Basically, the more knowledge you have, the more powerful you become. Because if anyone takes anything away from you, they can take your house, they can take your like life, they can take all of your wealth and free, like, all of these. But the knowledge that you have stays within yourself, and you can rebuild it from scratch, right? And when I understood that, having such an amazing network of people, that I just knew that if someone took everything away from them at that point, they could build it all over again based on what they knew. And I wanted that. I want to be as knowledgeable as possible. And I think that is what's driven this whole thing this entire time.
Because that knowledge in that scenario and how you just explained it is also a level of freedom. Because when people know that they can, because you hear the stories a lot from people who are like, oh yeah, I did, but then I just restarted again, because they know exactly how to do it again. It's not a big deal for them. And I think, for me anyway, that's that ultimate freedom. As people talk about seeking it, often they seek that thinking it's just money at first, but no, it's the ability to be able to, I think, pivot and choose what you're going to do when you want to do it, and without any of the constraints. So I love how you put that. There's a freedom that comes with that. Right now, today, you feel like if you needed to, if something happened, your business, you could restart again tomorrow and find yourself to success. I don't want to say relatively fast, but in essence, you know the pathway to get there. Is
Yeah,
that fair to
because
say?
over time you acquire different skills and like different levels of like knowledge and understanding that and I did this as well. Like when I failed SMMA, I went and pivoted to dropshipping, then pivoted again to something else. And then ultimately I found the thing that I had the most expertise or like competence in based on everything that I had failed at before. And I think
Mm-hmm.
most entrepreneurs go wrong where they are assigned a business model. And I've been like really thinking about this lately, where a lot of entrepreneurs will ask me or any other person that is successful, what business do I start? And instead, that reframe should be, where do you have the most competence on to start a business based on what you already know, so you can build skills on top of that, so you can maximize the effort and the outcome and everything else that comes along. And it's the easiest, like
Yeah.
take the path of least resistance. So then you don't want to quit, because what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs will go to YouTube or like LinkedIn and they'll be like, oh, here's how to start in an SMMA from scratch so you can make your first million at 21, right? The thing
Mm-hmm.
is, most people don't even know what SMMA is. They don't even know what the marketing models are. They don't even want to do
Yeah.
paid advertising because, firstly, they may not even have the budget to pay for ads, which is what that business model is about. So
Mm-hmm.
it is about more like understanding first who you are, what you want to do, what your skill is, and then finding a business model that is suited to that. That is how you essentially build a successful one person business from your childhood room, like I did, or my university dorm room, like I also did, and then double down and over time gain as much leverage as possible so your opportunities can be endless. Right now, for me, I get asked every single day to start a new business, to co-found a business, to be a partner, to be a stakeholder in anything. But it started with me knowing what I was competent at and
Yeah.
doubling down on that. And that is so powerful because you're able to understand what you can do, then what you can learn, and then who you need to do all of these other things.
That's great. And what you just said too, with all those connections and the people who now are reaching out to you, I think that gives another level of, um, I hate the word comfort, so I won't say that, but just knowledge so that you know that you can continue to pursue in that way, and or you're seeing all these other opportunities for wherever you want to learn and play next, which is also pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who
Yeah.
coined this phrase, but Michael, you probably remember because you remember these things pretty well. But your zone of genius. Do you remember who coined this phrase?
I don't remember, but I do. Yeah, no, well, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Lara is describing. And, operate in your, start in your zone of genius, and then you build and upskill on that. It gives you the best chance because you're not starting from the ground up. Lara, so let's pivot a little bit and talk LinkedIn. Obviously, it's kind of what you've mastered and you're one of the best at. What are you now seeing in 2025? Like how has things changed and how you should approach LinkedIn in 2025 versus 2024? And is it good or bad or neutral for you?
Um, okay, this is a good question. I am seeing there's definitely a lot more volume of people speaking about LinkedIn. Recently, Daniel Priestley just went on Diary of a CEO and he wouldn't shut up about LinkedIn. So for me, that is a very good indicator of where the platform is going as a platform for entrepreneurs, business owners, creators, and founders who want to build a brand based on their expertise rather than their looks. But that's what's been going on LinkedIn. But right now, there's a lot more traffic and awareness about the platform. So what I'm seeing is a massive opportunity for those who already have the knowledge, expertise, and content on LinkedIn to double down and realize that this is a once in a century opportunity to actually have a voice quickly, because LinkedIn is still very highly underused. There's like an under supply and over demand for content, for good content, and to learn, because no one knows still how to act on the platform. But this has been going on. The only difference is there's more eyeballs, there's more attention and awareness going on, but there is not enough content to meet that demand that we're seeing. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is obviously things like LinkedIn trying to become more of a creator platform. very like, I'm using the quote lines like very like, I don't know, because there's like two steps.
Aggressively.
That like, I was with the LinkedIn team over in Dubai like last month, and I was literally harassing them trying to get answers. And half the team is really bullish on trying to become a creator platform, but the other half, as per any, that LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, so they still want to make as much money as they possibly can. And the way they make the most money is through Sales Navigator and going for recruiters and all these people. So it is within their like reach. Is not about us. It's about what LinkedIn will do to either push the creator economy forwards, or they can like push the other agenda that they have, which makes total sense. So I see this as right now this year as the time and place to put a lot of eggs on the LinkedIn basket, but also get good at it. Because right now, people are coming onto LinkedIn, repurposing content from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, and not paying any attention on how to play the LinkedIn game. The LinkedIn game is incredibly different to any social media platform, and that's why I love it. Because it is not about what is the most entertaining. It is about the most high value education you can provide to your specific audience, because LinkedIn is where you build a brand for authority, not for clout or fame. The fame comes as a result, but it's not where you're building your personal brand to be the next Kylie Jenner. It's where you build your next personal brand to become the next Daniel Priestley, to become the next Stephen Bartlett. So if you're that archetype of person who want to have like really high value impact in someone else's life and business, then LinkedIn is a place for you. But if you want quick fame, to be known, liked, and trusted for all the things, then you're better off starting on TikTok and Instagram.
But then we should warn people it may not come quick, as people hope for. I think that's the thing, even between that and between what you mentioned earlier with when some people pursue some of these businesses and things, is they're looking for the quick, win. And whenever you look for the quick win, you usually burn out before you're able to actually establish anything worthwhile, because it takes so much time to figure out everything and learn it all so that you actually get really good at it. And for you, as you've been on LinkedIn, for a period of time, if you went back to your first post, would you say you were proud of it, or would you say, what the heck was that?
I hate it. I look back at it and I hate it, but it's still one of my most viral posts out of like my 300 posts that I've posted. It's still in my top 10. So I don't blame people for looking for that quick win, because getting a quick win is the most important thing for you to validate your idea quickly. That's why so many tech companies try and validate their business model as quickly as possible, or at least their idea, having like a beta test or something like that, because time is finite. Like, it's the only thing that's scarce in this world. And the idea of spending a year trying to do one thing is quite scary, especially when you don't have anything, or when you already have something else going on and you're trying to put all of your eggs in your basket on LinkedIn. So what I always tell people, there's this thing called the winner effect. So when you do something well, so for me, it was going viral within my first month of LinkedIn, like my first ever post went viral. Then to me, that created that momentum that drove me to then every single failure that I had, it didn't matter, because I knew I could win. So then it was like, how can I win the same as this every single time? So then reverse engineering that success and doubling down. So there's nothing wrong with looking for a quick win, because realistically, you're looking for market validation and market fit. So it is, yes, look for that quick win, but also know that it's not going to come quick if you're not good at it. And therefore, you need to know if your market, like if your scale has market demand, right? I see people on LinkedIn that are trying to do accountancy, let's say, and there's a lot of demand, but what their scale is may not be meeting the type of demand that is on LinkedIn right now. So then it's either you shift your business model to becoming more founder centric and you target those people, or you go to another platform where it's more for creators and influencers, right? So it is about you knowing as well where you fit best. And this is my problem as well with people. They try and force themselves into the platform and trying to change how the platform operates. But the platform will always kind of like prefer things that are within the LinkedIn algorithm like favorites. So
Yeah.
that's why you see content like LinkedIn itself, copywriting, leadership, remote work, AI. These topics do well because that's what the market on LinkedIn is demanding the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like friendships. You try to shove yourself into a group of people who don't like what you're into. It's going to be a lot more difficult to actually get the traction there. But
Yeah.
you said the thing about the I completely agree on the idea of validating quickly. But where I guess I get a little torn on that is that there's a lot of people though out there who, like I would say it's pretty rare for people to hit right away. Your story, obviously, when you hear it, you did, and that's great because I could see how that gives you that sort of reference point to be like, but I did. But I would say, and maybe I'm hanging out with the wrong people. No, but I would say that the individuals that I do generally know, it seems to be a little bit more of a fair trial and error to try to get there. And I mean, even not that, I guess maybe you could argue that you came in with a certain amount of knowledge and experience that let you hit that path more quickly, but I just don't think a lot of people do. So that's where I worry that if they're not thinking about it still for the long haul, then people give up too easy because they don't have that motivation to look back for. What do you think about that?
I think it's important for you to know what you're building your personal brand about and what the goal is. Mine was to literally find a job and I wanted to get a reference. So I guess the validation point came for me as like, I don't need a job. I can create my own job. So that was what gave me the gas. For a lot of people,
Yeah.
they try and come into LinkedIn to get more leads. And so they
Yep.
end up following the wrong path, which is of virality, getting stuck in that virality hamster wheel where they're trying to go viral every single time instead of like hiring a sales team or like even optimizing their offer. And I also
Yeah.
think that people are trying to build a personal brand on LinkedIn with the wrong intention because they think that building a personal brand is going to create like more generational wealth for their business or even like a solid stream of income and lead flow every single day. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. So I think for those people who are struggling to grow, there's usually two problems that I see because I work with them quite closely. It's either they're not talking about the right thing because their ego is getting in the way. Like ego is such a predominant thing with entrepreneurs, founders, and like creators because we think we know everything, or at least we think that if you already have, let's say, if you're Forbes 30 under 30 and you've already proven yourself to the broader market, which is like the top dogs, obviously, and you go back and play the LinkedIn game with all of these creators that are going viral that have less experience than you, you're obviously going to get upset because how can someone that's a 7-figure exited founder not getting as much attention as someone that's barely just made their first business and talking about
Right.
this very basic thing? And that is frustrating. And I know it because I've seen it. But
Yeah.
then it's like, how are you willing to play this LinkedIn game? And if not, that's fine. But just know that it is not like if you don't like the game, don't play it. But then don't complain that you don't like the game, the rules.
Right.
That's how
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. It's such a great point you make. I would say that Michael and I are guilty of this. We come from loads of experience in big tech and media companies, having our own kind of entrepreneurial ventures. And then we tried the LinkedIn game. We're like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on here? Why is this person all of a sudden getting all this attention and we can't? So it definitely was a hit on our ego. And I think it initially caused us to say, forget this. We're just going to go back. But then we're like, no, let's try this again. We don't give up that easily. So I totally relate with that message. So the question I have for you is, how should someone like Michael and I get into it with less frustration? I mean, I know you said put the ego aside, but that's very much mindset. But tactically, like, what should someone like us do?
I feel like we
Yeah.
should lay on a couch right now too. Like she's getting
Therapy
psychological help.
session.
We're like, yeah,
Hold
therapy,
on.
please help us. Yeah.
No, I think, and I do this example because it's like the thing that I see the most, and that's how I've gotten one of my best friends, Jodie Cook. She's like, I looked at her and I'm like, wow, but she wasn't on LinkedIn because she didn't think that she needed it, and it was like she didn't want to play the LinkedIn game, and I reframed it to her like being such as I am 25, at least I was at the time when I spoke to her. I need to know your knowledge. The thing is, the way you're communicating it right now on other platforms isn't going to be useful to me because LinkedIn, in the end of the day, is a social media platform. And what do social media platforms want? They want short form information. They want a quick win, right? So how can we take all of your experience that you know and put it out there? So then we started with like, oh, she didn't want to put Forbes 30 on the 30 on her headline because she was 30 on the 30 like 10 years ago. So she's not 30 on the 30 anymore. But I'm like, that is extreme market validation of who you are. A lot of big entrepreneurs hate bragging. Because obviously in the industry right now, if you guys go to a networking event, like I'm sure with like all the big players, talking about being X, Y, and Z, selling your business for X, Y, or Z as well, it's just like, I sold it for 7 figures. They sold it for 8 and 9. So why am I even speaking about it? But on LinkedIn, it is a positioning game that you're playing. So you need to use every single ace card. I see it like a game of cards, and every win that you have is it's an ace card. So when you look at it, as you open your LinkedIn and you start to write, you think, what card can I play today to my advantage that I already have to win? And you do your best every single day. Like you start from scratch and you go, okay, I sold my business for this thing. I need to talk about this. Okay, so I'm an ex Disney right now. Here's 10 lessons that I learned by working with billionaires as well. So that first line helps you set yourself apart from everyone else in the industry, giving you that insane unfair advantage that I've done this thing that you probably want to do, and I've done, and I have things to tell you, right? So that's like following my slave framework. Like you start with a story. I did amazing thing. Here's what I learned. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to you. What would you do in this situation? How would you do it? How would you guys feel about this? You know? So it is about turning year-long experiences into short, actionable, concise lessons that fit the new standard of how people are consuming content, and then being okay with the humble brag, which is, I've done this really cool thing, but I'm going to show you how based on my experience. It is not about bragging, which is what LinkedIn is known for, the humble flex, or like even just over flex, which cringes a lot of people out. And it's being like, I've gone through all of this shit. Let me help you skip that and get to the end result, because I wish I knew that 10 years ago.
Right. I think as you say that, and again, I love how you break it down, and I always love your slay framework, but I do think, interestingly enough, ego on one hand has people be like, like comparing themselves to the 9 million exit versus a 7 million exit. But in some scenarios here, what you also have is you have like what you just described about the brag, that's this other side of ego, however you want to look at it. Because in that case, it's more a matter of, well, like I've always felt uncomfortable. Social media in general for me has been one of those, because I'm like, oh, I don't need to show people my whatever perfect life people are taking the pictures of, depending on the social media. Or over here, it's like that for me sometimes feels so staged that I've always been uncomfortable with it. So what you're saying definitely resonates with me too, because I get it. It's like people got to get over that, because guess what? Who are the individuals that I'm following and listen to? The ones who do the humble brags, because now I can understand where they are and I know them better. But it's this hard balance to get past, at least for me sometimes, because I'm like, okay, where's my family, picture or whatever it is, or a picture of myself, portrait style, because I feel like that is a component that sometimes is showing up in some of these conversations. And I know that's a blanket statement, but there is an increase of that on LinkedIn, and there absolutely is a lot of that on other social medias.
Yeah, I agree. I think for any founder or entrepreneur that is seasoned in the industry, they just need to write everything that they've done down, and then kind of like talk about it like you're reflecting on your journey, rather than being like, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like, no, listen to me, because I think I could help you. That's why like authors write an entire book for like a year about them, but it ends up being a book that helps generations, like Atomic Habits, or I think Sahil Bloom just launched his like five types of like wealth, and it's all about what he's learned. And in essence, the book is entirely about him and everything he's learned, but as a result, he's teaching people in the way that he's learned it. So he's condensed 10 years of education into one book.
Right.
So
yeah,
it is like taking a page of the book and then putting it into actionable content that you can use.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. I admit I was just watching the show Vikings, and in there the king has this room full of all the knowledge and stuff they've been able to get around the world. In fact, he even spent time, and he's talking to his son about the idea of translating these books so that you have this knowledge, and knowledge is everything. And back then, you think about it, it's like, gosh, people hardly had access to it. And everything you just described, including the names, that you just mentioned and stuff, it's like this virtual mentors that are available out there, whether you meet them or not. And obviously you're on your path to meeting all these people in person, but it's like there is that knowledge, you're right. It's just at our fingertips. And I'm curious, how has AI informed any of your approach to any of this over the last year? Because some people touch on it pretty big, and it's a big part of it. In fact, a lot of people on LinkedIn have pivoted kind of their world to here's how you use AI. Where are you at on that?
AI is the single most powerful tool that we can use right now as a creator, entrepreneur, or anything. It runs my life. But again, AI is not the thing of the focus. It's like the mechanism to get somewhere. I read this really cool kind of like breakdown of what the future with AI looks like. And it's the same with cars. People don't even know that what is inside of the car. We just drive it, right? And therefore, that's how I see AI. I'm not overcomplicating, like, oh my God, AI is going to take my job doing all that. No, okay, how can I actually use it? So I use ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, AI agents are coming out. So I use all of them to like just fast track my way into thinking faster and then condensing my information. So I'll go to ChatGPT, I'll drop it a voice note, I'll be like, what is the most important thing about this? Or like, there's like a Lara GPT that someone created that has every single one of my frameworks, and then I can type of use it for my clients. So that's how I use it now. But when it comes to all of these massively overcomplicated automation style technical things that people are doing, I'm not interested because that is not within my zone of competence. And I also don't need it yet, because my business isn't as large as someone else that's running a like a 100,000 team that you need to have all these systems and operations in it. But the fact that for me, AI right now works as like my virtual assistant, and I can give it tasks and it can remind me, and it can like even reply to some of my emails. That is insane. It's saving me about 10 to 12 hours a week. Sorry. So that is how I'm using it. And I love talking about AI. AI is definitely revolutionized the way I see content. It's definitely helping people that are not writers, like inherently. Like not everybody is going to enjoy writing as much as like typical creators do. And that's also a massive distinction between who are you? Are you a creator or an entrepreneur, or are you both? And then so once you realize I am a creator, my zone of competence and genius is writing, then I cannot outsource that to AI, because that's not going to give me the most, bang for my buck, But then if you're an entrepreneur and you hate writing because you hate the idea of having a space every single line and having to understand how to format, then AI is the solution, because you can just drop an idea and it can create an 80%, 90% even good post, and then you can go ahead and edit the hook, the nitty-gritty information, and you can go from there. So there's definitely a massive advantage for people that are trying to optimize their content creation journey. For me, that's what I see it as, because that's what I do. And then for business owners to streamline boring tasks without having to like hire a VA.
Right.
Yeah. There obviously, with every technology, especially in the beginning, there's the negative side of it. And when we're talking about LinkedIn, you obviously get to see the flood of purely AI generated content without any thought gone into it, posted, or AI comments. So it does kind of feel like, and I feel like people that are slightly experienced could easily catch that, oh yeah, that's an AI comment or AI post. But I'm curious what you think now that LinkedIn is leaning more into video. Do you think that it gives creators, the good creators, an advantage because they can separate themselves from all this AI fluff? Or would you say this is still another noise and it should be kept on the other platforms, and video on LinkedIn is not going to really take off? And I do want to commend you, because you've been producing some great content, but you've been using LinkedIn to actually, create a community on YouTube. So I think your strategy has been brilliant and your content is great. but just overall, curious what you think about LinkedIn leaning into video.
I was looking at my content, trying to do, because I'm building another course and it has a video element. And I was reviewing my content from 3 years ago when I started. And one of the hooks for that video is I hate video on LinkedIn. This was 3 years ago. And my opinion has not changed because LinkedIn inherently, and I will stand by this always, LinkedIn is not a video platform. LinkedIn is a written form platform and it's made for the introvert of the society and the entrepreneurial scene. That's why LinkedIn and Twitter have the most, people that have the highest income or at least the highest roles because they're written form. You don't need to put on this persona that most creators are, tailored to do. Like that is the archetype, the video creator that can perform this whole show, that has the lights, that has the background, and they love that performance, right? And LinkedIn itself is a professional platform where a professional is not always geared up to create video to the standard and does not want to, do the hooks, do the different like scenes and everything. Maybe they want to do a Zoom call and that's fine. But video is great, obviously, for conversion. It builds trust, it builds authority. That's fine. But you can also still build the same amount of authority through text content. Like I validated this through a test that I ran like 3 months ago before I went on a podcast to talk about specifically video. And I wanted to have as much data as I possibly could to try and talk about the topic as best as I could. The video, I posted video for 3 weeks in a row, like video every single day, right? And I tried to see if there was an increase in growth, lead generation, and following, right? The amount of followers that I got from video was way less than I got from just creating text and photo content only. So there is no increase in total following when you're posting video. So that advantage is gone, right? And so if you think about it as in you're creating content to grow your following, then video is not the avenue, right? It may be good for like good impressions, right? So video got a lot of, I guess, clout and attention because people were getting millions of impressions via one video. However, no one can see those impressions. You can only know how many impressions of a video I got if I tell you. And that's not the point. And therefore, it's what LinkedIn is really heavily missing with this LinkedIn feed, like LinkedIn video feature. Like no one knows what the result of the video is. A video could be getting 1 million impressions and only 100 likes. So it's technically a bad performing post for many people. Whereas on other platforms like TikTok and Instagram, you can see how many views the video got and how many likes the video got, which is amazing for social validation and social proof. And that is a key element of psychology people are missing when it comes to, video is going to work. No, it's not, because it's missing these other alternative elements for people to actually judge you as a top creator or not, as someone that you would pay attention to or not. And so my opinion in video, good. If you can't do it, do it. Like it's going to add a lot of value to your brand. It definitely has for me, because I know how to speak. I know how to write. I know how to create content. So I have that, like, I am that archetype of person. But what I fear is, and what I hate is seeing other creators and people that do not have access or the ability to speak in public, or are not trained to do so, getting upset because they think that they've already failed before they even start. And as someone who's done all of it, I would say if I had to start from scratch, I would still do copy and photo, because that's still the most powerful thing. Why? Because LinkedIn people are not wanting to consume video on LinkedIn. They want to read. It's a reading platform.
Yeah. My perspective is a lot of tech companies, people have built certain habits and how they use certain software products, whether it's, on your phone or wherever. It's very difficult to change habits of the masses to say, go from reading to now watching. And I've seen a lot of tech companies make this mistake where they buy or acquire other companies because it's the trend. And after a year, they shut it down because it's so hard to shift. I remember even Google once, launched their own social network because Facebook was big at the time. It failed miserably because nobody goes to Google to be a social platform. There's a certain habit built. I go to Google to search for stuff. I'm not going there to talk to people. And I see similar with LinkedIn. I don't know. I guess time will tell how successful it's going to be. But I think changing habits of billion people is difficult.
If you look at I think of the artist formerly known as Twitter when they had Vine. Ironically, though, if you look at TikTok today, TikTok is Vine,
Yeah,
and so it is. It kind of proves that point where it's like it struggled over there, but as soon as it was its own thing and people knew that that's what they were going for, it's like now you had this, if you will, success in it. Lara, I'm curious though for you, what was your push to move over to YouTube?
It's always been my dream. Like, I've always been a creator. That's why I always have struggled with the label of entrepreneur. I've Creating content has always been my thing since I can barely remember. I've always had a camera on my hand. My dad has videos of me with a video camera. Like, I would get them when I
Awesome.
was younger because I loved the idea of video and just recording everything. Like, my camera roll has over 60,000 photos and videos. So
Wow.
for me, it was like a no brainer. And like, I think I timed the market well by accident, where when I decided to shift to YouTube, literally last January, the LinkedIn video feed was just rolling out. So it came about as like, it was a lot of luck. But
Yeah.
LinkedIn video was not my main thing. I actually just wanted to venture out to YouTube because I could afford to have this whole setup. I had time and market validation of the topic that I could become an expert at and win on the other platform. Because after going through all of that with LinkedIn, I was not going to start something from scratch knowing that I couldn't replicate the same success. And I think that is so important for anyone that's trying to venture out into another platform, because you need market validation, market demand, and high value scale to give to succeed. I am a fan of, yes, you can do volume and then let the market like validate. But if you're trying to do two platforms at a time with different topics, trying to do both volume and throwing stuff at a wall and see what sticks,
Yeah.
your quality is going to suffer. And for
Mhm.
me, positioning is everything because it's how you make your clients feel, especially in a B2B industry. So I rather go in the trenches for like 2 years with LinkedIn, validate myself, my ideas, and my personal brand, and then take all that I knew and put it onto YouTube, the platform that
Yeah.
I originally wanted to start with. So if you go back to my first YouTube channel that I started back in like 2015, 2016, I still have the first video archived. Like, I
That's
was
awesome.
trying to do video, but then I realized that right now was not my time. And that was a
Yeah.
hit on my ego because I didn't have the skill. I wasn't going to win. So I'd rather go build something, build myself up to someone, and then try it again.
You need to release that archived video,
One
even
day.
if it's just a clip to tell people that, like, like, yeah, just what you just articulated, I think is pretty great. I'm curious, do you see any sort of correlation? Are you familiar with Google? I think Google coined the 7-4-11 rule. The concept is, if I have it right, 7-4-11 is that people, in
Four
order for somebody to be,
interactions. Is it that?
what was that?
Four interactions, seven
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 hours of video. Well, 7
Oh,
hours of not video, but 7 hours of consuming your content.
yes.
4 hour or 4 across 11 different, types of, whatever forms. So it could be some an email, it could be some a newsletter, it could be 5 of them on LinkedIn. But the idea between those is that when people do that, they've now built up a level of trust that they're more likely to buy from someone. So I'm just actually curious because for one of the business I run, that's one of the things that we're ultimately playing with now, because we're heavily on Instagram, and on Instagram, it's short little bits. But a lot of people who are going for the education around the thing that we're teaching have a highly likelihood of consuming the longer form videos on YouTube. So we're creating a series of these, basically probably sending through in almost like a little video training sequence, but they'll also be out there that people can find us. But because when people can build that trust, they're now more likely to buy from you. And I'm just curious whether or not you've seen any correlations with YouTube as you've come on YouTube that, you would say supports this idea that people are building that trust with you a little bit more quickly, or have you seen any difference?
Yeah, of course. YouTube has been a massive source of trust building for me, like 100%. But right now, I don't think I could say it has been a game changer in terms
Okay.
of how much money is attributing to our business. Like the business is making its most money through newsletter, which I
Wow.
guess it's another source of like
Yeah.
contact. But
Mhm.
again, I want to hone in on like there's all these theories of like, oh yeah, you need 12 types of interactions with your customers before they see you and so they can buy from you, you
Sure.
can build trust. The element that people are missing in this like formula that they are not inherently aware because it's the hard bit is that the interactions that people have with you, they have to be high quality, because there's no point of having seven different interactions and you're pushing them to ads
Totally.
when the quality of that content is inherently bad, because then you're
Yeah.
speeding up the process of them hating you. And
Yeah.
I think that should be even more emphasized when people are talking about this. And that's what I did, because I would have I knew that I could do Instagram, TikTok, all of these. Like I have all the skill set to do it because I'm a Gen Z. Like video and content is like within our, like, I think genetics at this point, because we grew up with our phones on our hands. But I
Yeah.
realized this thing, like authority and positioning is the highest value skill that you can have when you're being a creator and you're trying to build reputation from zero, which is what I try to do. Sorry, my light just died.
Okay.
But I think that is also important. And so if I go back to my journey, the reason why I built LinkedIn first, I built it up to 50K before I even thought about any other platform. Then I went to Twitter because I wanted to repurpose my content from Twitter
Mhm.
onto LinkedIn to build more authority and positioning there. And then I
Yeah.
realized, okay, I want to sell something now. I think I have the trust built. Now I'm going to, distribute that trust onto email and so on and so forth. And then email, then YouTube. Now maybe we're thinking about TikTok and Instagram, but it's like one step at a time. Like there should be a rush to become better, but you need to become excellent first and
Yeah.
dominate, master that one platform and master your skill, master how you're communicating your skill, and then master your consumer and who that person is.
That makes perfect sense. And I do think that, yeah, like for anybody, uh, Art and I too, as we've talked about it, because, we were guilty as well, podcast, LinkedIn, as we were trying both of these things. And, once we have created certain systems around some of the areas, but it just meant we were dividing ourselves. And then you actually, on the one thing about YouTube, and maybe you'll disagree with this and teach us, but is on LinkedIn, you can trace back your in, not that you're going to spend loads of time doing this, but you can see the type of people and you could quickly understand, are they a potential customer or are they just somebody trying to sell you? On YouTube, you don't see as much about the individual and understand who they are unless you get some heavy forensics trying to figure it out. So it's actually easier to understand who your audience is on LinkedIn. At least that's my take on it. I'm curious of whether or not your experience on YouTube is different.
I heavily disagree.
Please, yes.
Like 100%, because
Hit me.
I actually think YouTube is the big boss of all social media, which is why I'm so excited about it. YouTube is a creator led platform. The
Mhm.
analytics that they provide you inherently are way better than LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn doesn't even tell you what gender people follow, like they have, whereas on YouTube you have age range,
Yeah.
gender, how much they watch, when did they stop watching and why, who do they watch, and what your competitors are. They would literally, in the analytics section it will tell you. So I think there you can then validate your ideas even further as well. That's what I've been
Yeah.
doing lately. Right now I have a heavy following, like male ratio following, and maybe I'm trying to shift that a little bit more so it could become more monetizable in the future. YouTube
Uh-huh.
has told me that. LinkedIn couldn't have told me that because it doesn't have the access to like because it's got all of these restrictions. Because again,
Sure.
it's a B2B platform, like it's like data protected, all of these things. So LinkedIn
Yeah.
cannot give you that, but like YouTube will. And so for me, it's been an asset to understand what topics are winning, how to get more winning topics for my content, and then how to
Very
repurpose
interesting.
that onto LinkedIn.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So now it's starting to feed the other way. Yeah. That's interesting. I think for me, because of the conversations I've had a little bit more on LinkedIn that I don't feel, and this could be something for Art and I on our channel, we don't have as many engagement in the comments kind of section. So there's none of that sense. Yes, you could see high level, some of this about the individuals and people, but it hasn't led to, I'm trying to think, it's almost like when sometimes people talk about more of those conversations and the feedback that you get that then helps. Sorry, I'm getting an echo back somewhere here.
I
But
think,
yeah,
Mike,
really,
you're probably talking about like the ability to have DM conversations on LinkedIn with somebody and really go deep.
To really know your audience a little bit more, like, because there are some high level statistics on YouTube, but like right now I have a greater sense of the people and who they are on LinkedIn than I have of people on YouTube. Like I can almost attach names and personas more easy down to an individual level than I can on YouTube. But maybe we're looking at the data differently, and or my skills have yet to advance to the level of Laura's to
No,
really get it. Yeah.
I think it's like, again, like your zone of competence and where you have the most leverage on right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, your LinkedIn has the most leverage because you have the highest following, or at least the highest engagement there. Now,
Yeah.
for you, the question is, okay, I have all this demand and market here. How can I create content for this person that's commenting in every single post of mine? Okay, this person looks like a CEO that's exited and is trying to find their next like vision. Maybe they're
Yeah.
trying to also build up a podcast. And so, how do you build your next podcast based on how to start a podcast after quitting, or like how to exit, like how to quit your job? All of these
Right.
things, then you can tailor the content for them, so then you can bring them onto YouTube and create content that is for that, because you
Which
already
makes
have
sense,
one
yeah.
person, then 10 people are probably demanding it, and then therefore you can double down on that. That's how I sort of like build the structure of my YouTube. And then from that, then I reach a higher like I guess on like the reason why I like YouTube the most is because it's a long form platform. Like people are not looking for a quick fix like they will do on LinkedIn, which is like a short form social media platform. YouTube is, people have intent, because one, they're searching for you, two, they're subscribed to you, which people like the subscribe bot, like the subscribe thing on YouTube is like not as easy as LinkedIn or Instagram. So then
Right.
you have more validation there. You can then optimize from that person that you found on LinkedIn to content, and then double down.
Yeah.
It's a game.
I know, and I love it, and I love how you look at it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe based on hearing this in another podcast, did you for YouTube, Brett? Did you work with Brett around something? He mentioned your name, and he sounds like there might be a podcast coming in the future, but I don't know if I've seen it yet, or at least a video. I love his stuff. Like it's great.
Yeah,
So I was
I
curious.
actually I have a call with him in 15 minutes. Yeah, Brett and he's been coaching me for like 3 months. I actually flew to New York to film a podcast with him about LinkedIn. I'm his first linked female interviewee, I guess.
Oh wow. Yeah,
So
it's
that
a
was
good
really
point as you
cool.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's really cool. I love the way he thinks. I think we're quite similar in the way we see content. So yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The two of you combined is going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah.
We argued in the middle of the podcast.
Oh, really? That's great, though. That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Let it out. I know his way of preparing, too, is he doesn't like to, he doesn't like to get to know the person too much, usually first, too, because he wants to make sure when he dives in, it's like new, like it is for the audience. But I think your guys' relationship was probably a little different at the time. But I look forward to seeing what the argument was about. We won't go spoiler there. You mentioned your new program you're working on, or course. Can you share any more about that yet, or is it top secret?
No, it's launching probably around March, and it's called the Creator Code. So it's basically going to be a downsell from what Literally Academy is. And so it's going to be focusing on just how to write and create content on LinkedIn. And I'm currently just scripting a video module that's going to be a bonus, because I realized, okay, I think I need to talk about video at some point. So there's also going to be an avenue of like what the setup looks like, how to write a script for video, like how to even do this, like do you even need to do this, and trying to get really into the psychology behind video, which is how I approach things. I'm seeing a complete gap of knowledge, and this is where you find market demand, and obviously how can you supply. And I'm seeing this thing where people are over relying on templates, which I have given people, and then they're not really understanding why the templates work. And so psychology is probably the most important thing that any person that's trying to win on LinkedIn needs to know, because it's not about the winning hook. It's about the winning emotion that you're creating for your audience. And so I'm going to go deep on that, deep on how to write a hook, how to format, how to use all these tools like Clio, etc., so they can find winning content. They can then double down on it and then create their own version in the future.
Love
so
it.
Very excited.
That sounds great. I need to also ask you, when you mentioned the AI tools that you have leaned into, what tools are like your go-tos?
So Clio is the number one tool that any single LinkedIn creator should be using right now. It took me from 50K to I think 100K so quickly. Wow. I was one of their first users. And how it works is basically it's a Chrome extension. You can pull it out at any point. Do you guys use it?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah.
I love it. And so you can see all the best performing posts, which then goes back to how I reverse engineer everything. I look at a post, it's the highest performing post for like a creator. Then I ask myself why. Then I take that post, reverse engineering, maybe use the hook, and then use the same structure and then create my own version. So that's how I taught myself how to write. And I say this all the time, where you don't need to be a writer to go on LinkedIn and win. You just need to become a content creator. And the fastest way is following the path of least resistance, which is using tools like Clio to facilitate your way to do that. And so I'm very, very a big fan of Clio. Like, it is my god for content. Any LinkedIn users should be using it. I think it's so easy to use. There's no friction. It's not complicated like, any other AI tool that I've seen in the market. So I love that one. That's pretty much what I like. That's almost kind of like my entire tool stack when I'm creating content.
Wow. So you don't use like ChatGPT at all, or EasyGen's not in your thing? I know EasyGen's big out there. Yeah. Ruben. Yeah.
I primarily use Clio just because there is something so important about finding a tool that just resonates with you and sticking to it. There's so much distraction with all this new tool, and I think that's why people fail at everything. And you guys have probably seen it when there's so much there's so many shiny objects, and I want to try this new business idea, I want to try this new thing, and you forget that the thing that you're using right now is what's working for you. But for the sake of novelty, then you go and try all these other things. And sometimes it's good, like ChatGPT. Obviously, I use it every single day for just overall therapy. It's more my corporate therapist than anything else. I do use it to write. Let's say I'll put a post of mine that's worked well, and I'll say, okay, I want to write a similar post within this. Can you write a similar post based on like all of this? And I can give you guys some prompts so you maybe can put in the description or something. That really helps for me to be in process and write this block. So I don't have to start from scratch every single time. So Clio and ChatGPT, that's pretty much it.
Anything on the video front?
Yes, of course. So obviously, it's no surprise that I have a whole editing team. And so what I would do if I was a creator is I would use tools like SubMagic, Opus Clip, or VidAI, which are very similar. They're all AI-powered platforms where you can literally just put your videos and it adds subtitles. I think the number one reason why people are winning on LinkedIn is not because on video on LinkedIn is not because they have the best editing team. Is because they have the most comprehensive videos that people can find. And the way to become the most comprehensive video creator is by simply adding subtitles. So choose one of those three platforms to put your videos on, add subtitles on it, and then you can edit within the platforms. So you can cut clips and put back and forth. I was playing around with, I think it was SubMagic earlier, and it does it quite well. It's like low cost, like your tool stack. Yeah, SubMagic is great. So you don't need an expensive editing team. You don't need an expensive setup. You just need to know how to use these tools and create good videos, I guess.
Kind of your perspective as we kind of wrap this up. There's a lot of opinions on LinkedIn around selling. There's, focus on inbound, or, send people to your funnel. You don't need to do anything. Just sell in DMs.
Or newsletter.
What's your opinion? What's your opinion on the best way to actually convert into a paying customer?
There is no best way. And it goes back to my point that I made earlier. Like, so many people are building a personal brand for the wrong reason. So if you want more sales, then go ahead and do as much outbound as you possibly can, because that is your main goal. But I think a lot of people are confusing building their business and building their personal brand as like the one thing that solves every single problem. People don't have like positioning problems, they have offer problems. And some other people don't have an offer problem, they just have a positioning problem. And it's so finding that bottleneck within yourself. There is no best way to do one thing. There's multiple different ways to do one thing. It's about finding the one thing that works for you. What worked for me is creating content at scale, because I hate sales. You will never see me trying to do cold outreach, because that is just not my style. But for someone else, I know you had Matt on the podcast, he loves that thing because his background is sales. Someone else like my mentor, Richard Moore, he loves it. He loves that game.
And we talked to Richard too.
He's amazing at it. And I've tried my best to learn from him and his like way of doing this. but I simply cannot do it. It stresses me out. And so
Yeah.
it's important to emphasize again, like, what is your zone of like your area of expertise, and double down on that to find the path of least resistance. I am so bullish on finding the path of least resistance, because when you're stopping yourself from doing all of these extremely hard things, like perhaps putting yourself out there with a cold outreach, DM, or even email, and you maybe find that creating content is simpler, and you would rather wait a little bit, build your brand, and then start getting inbound, then that's absolutely fine. Like, not every single person wants to build a 10 million business. I am quite happy building the business that I have, maybe doing $1 million a year or whatever. And I'm not looking for like, oh, I'm living. I have this all the time with my friends that do this. They have setters, they have like 1 million different people DMing from LinkedIn. I don't want that, because
Yeah.
I would rather keep my audience and they liking me, instead of me spamming them with, hey, like, I saw you looked at my profile, like, can I help? I don't want that. Like, that is not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
But that is my archetype, and I think it's so incredibly important to for everyone building a personal brand to understand, what are you here for? Are you here for the authority building? Are you here for the long term? Are you here for the short term? And what is that? What does that look like for you? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice in the process? Because if you're coming across like a super salesy, then there's definitely going to be a drop in your engagement, and obviously how people are perceiving you, because people are going to perceive you as that person that's probably going to want them to sell something, right? And that's fine. To some people, they don't care, like, they're cool with that. I'm not. I love my audience, and I would rather never sell them anything and have them have free value, and then it for me will compound over 3 years, and it has done massively, right? But I was okay with leaving so much money on the table, because that is not what I wanted to do. I
I
always
love
wanted to
that.
be a creator and build a
Yeah.
creator-led business.
It's a great perspective. And I think just what you, again, path of least resistance is so, I think, key there too, because that's where I think a lot of people, they try to do that thing that they hate doing, and then in the process they burn themselves out. And it's interesting, even as you mentioned, that you're not, hitting people in the cold reach out in that sort of way. Instead, you're just adding value, and then that means, yes, granted, you likely have to get it out to more people in order to then get the paying customers back, but you're not doing the things that are painful for you, that are going to burn you out on the business. Like, I think I see other people who get burned out on things, and I think it's because they're forcing themselves down the pathway of the thing that they hate to do. And sometimes you got to do a little bit of that, but wherever you can find a way to the alternatives, I think that's huge.
Well, it's like, what business game are you playing? Are you playing the lifestyle business, where you're trying to just build a lifestyle business that's making $10,000 a
Yeah.
month and you can afford to live in Bali? Or are you building the legacy business, where you're trying to, have generational wealth? Like, they're
Right.
completely different games. And I think people take advice from everyone, and then nothing serves them. Like, people need to be careful who they take advice from, because that
Yeah.
advice may be coming from someone that doesn't have the life they want. And that
Right.
is so dangerous.
Totally. I hear you.
Yeah.
And that's what you hear, is people quoting those people who has a life that's probably not what they, or they haven't even taken the time. Sometimes some people don't even know what they want.
Life
I feel like it's kind of like college in general. We're in the pursuit of something because that's what society says that we need, but you got to take that moment to actually reflect and say, what do I actually want in life? Because I think, to your point, look, $1 million a year is nothing to sneeze about. And it's like, but at the same time, there is that difference between those who are trying to build something, build this gigantic team, all that stuff, versus the ones who are like, no, I could build a really good sustaining business here that's not going to kill me in the process. Because
Mhm.
why chase that other thing if ultimately it's not? Again, it's what serves each individual. What are they looking for? What game do they want to play?
Yeah, it is the game mental like framework, I think, has helped me a lot, because I struggle with it. I am, again, I have, the internet is an entire playground. Like, everything is sort of possible but impossible at the same time. So every single time I need to check myself, and I'm so grateful that I have my mentor Richard, that really does check me on things like, what do you want? And sometimes he tests me. He's like, oh my god, yeah, you're gonna build a 10 million. He, like, a year ago, maybe 6 months even, he was saying like, oh my god, you're on route to building a 10 million business. And I'm like, I don't think I want that. And then he stopped, and he was like, well done. Like, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes people are following the wrong path because it's assigned to
Mhm.
them. And having that amount of self-awareness of where your boundaries lie in what you're actually trying to build is very important. And in the game of personal branding, I see this where people are chasing virality or like not growing as fast as they can. But it's like, is that even your desire? Probably
Right.
not. And that's probably why it's not working. And if it's not working, then are you willing to put in the time and effort to understand why it's not working and play the game? And if you don't want to do that, then perhaps you can take another avenue, like going all in on email marketing. But I think it comes with a lot of reflection, and again, leaving a lot of ego at the door and being like, that I'm fine with missing out on this thing.
Let's love it. Well said. I think, if I was to boil down, everything is, focus on your expertise and your knowledge, double down on that, reflect on what you actually want to do, find the right mentors, and find the right path. And that's so easy, right?
It's simple. It's simple, but it's not easy because it requires a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. I should caveat that. On top of all those buckets, I should add a huge line that says sacrifice at the bottom. Well, Lara, thank you so much for joining us again today. It's been even better than the first one, but if anybody is interested, we're going to point to the first episode. You should watch that one too. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I still have the chip on my shoulder, and I went to therapy. My therapist told me off about it. So yeah, we're still going.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody has any comments, questions for Michael, myself, especially Lara, just drop them there, and then we'll get them to you, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you, guys.
Lara. If you like this episode and you want more of Lara, go check out episodes from last year. It was as good.